हेलो बच्चों, कैसे हो? आपका स्वागत है त्रिपान स्टडी सेंटर में। आज जो हम करने जा रहे हैं क्लास 10th एनआईएस बोर्ड का जो है सोशल साइंस यानी सामाजिक विज्ञान का चैप्टर नंबर 16, जिसमें आज हम करेंगे फंडामेंटल राइट एंड फंडामेंटल ड्यूटीज़ यानी मौलिक अधिकार और मौलिक कर्तव्य के ऊपर विशेष प्रकाश डालेंगे। ये टॉपिक हर एक क्लास के बच्चों के लिए महत्वपूर्ण रहेगा, चाहे वो सीबीएसई में पढ़ते हों, चाहे एनआईएस बोर्ड के बच्चे हों, चाहे यूपी बोर्ड के बच्चे हों, चाहे बिहार बोर्ड के बच्चे हों। सभी बच्चों के लिए महत्वपूर्ण रहेगा। इवन कि जो बच्चे कॉम्पिटिशन की तैयारी कर रहे हैं उनके लिए भी काफ़ी महत्वपूर्ण ये टॉपिक रहने वाला है। इसमें हम मौलिक कर्तव्य और मौलिक अधिकार के ऊपर जो है काफ़ी प्रकाश डालेंगे और जानेंगे हर एक पहलू पे। लेकिन आपको पता है, चैप्टर स्टार्ट करने से पहले एक बात जो मैं हमेशा कहता हूँ, जिसको आपको सोचना भी चाहिए, विचार भी करना चाहिए और इवन अमल भी करना चाहिए, वो ये है कि जब भी वीडियो देखिए पूरा देखिए, क्योंकि अधूरा जानकारी सदैव खतरनाक होता है। साथ में एक इंपॉर्टेंट बात ये भी रहता है, अगर आप पहली बार वीडियो देख रहे हो तो लाइक शेयर सब्सक्राइब करना मत भूलना, क्योंकि दोस्तों लाइक कीजिएगा तो बनाने वाले का मनोबल बढ़ता है, सब्सक्राइब कीजिएगा तो इससे ये होता है कि जब भी मैं कोई वीडियो डालूंगा उसका नोटिफिकेशन आपको समय रहते मिल जाएगा। और देखिए, शेयर का मतलब ये होता है कि आपके थ्रू ना जाने किन बच्चों को हेल्प मिल जाए, ये आप भी नहीं जानोगे, इसलिए जो है आप शेयर जरूर करो, ठीक है। व्हाट्सएप स्टेटस पे भी लगाओ। दोस्तों एनआईएस सेंटर जो कई मानने में बहुत से बच्चों के लिए हेल्पफुल है, चाहे वो 8th क्लास हो, 9th 10th 11th 12th हो, चाहे वो एनआईएस बोर्ड के बच्चे हों, ठीक है, चाहे बीए एमए के बच्चे हो, सभी क्लासों के लिए कुछ ना कुछ जो है त्रिपान सेंटर में उपलब्ध है। तो इसलिए आपके लिए ज़रूरी है कि आप सब्सक्राइब करके इसको चैनल को जो है सेव कर लो, नहीं तो बाद में अगर रिसर्च करोगे तो शायद आपको ये चैनल प्राप्त ना हो। तो इसलिए सोचना नहीं, विचार नहीं करना है, सब्सक्राइब करके जो है अपने पास सेव करना है। दोस्तों ये तो बात था आपके लिए, लेकिन अब देखते हैं हमारा आज टॉपिक क्या है। नेक्स्ट टॉपिक इज फंडामेंटल राइट। फंडामेंटल राइट इज नेक्स्ट ईयर इज इम्पोर्टेंट as we have seen right and claim that is really for the instance and development of individual. In that sense there will be a long list of right. There is a long list of your right where all these are they are recognized by the society, and some of the most important right are recognized by their state and enshrined in their constitution. Such rights are called fundamental right. You know that what is a fundamental right here? Whereas all these are recognized by the society, and some of the important rights are recognized by state and enshrined in their constitution. Such right is called fundamental right, and this right is a fundamental because of two reasons. This right is a fundamental because there are two reasons. First here, these are the mentioned in their constitution which are guarantee them, and second here, these are justiciable. Justiciable, there is an important point here, and the enforceable through their court. Again, justiciable mean that in a case of their violation, the individual can approach courts for their protection. Courts here, there is a protection. If a government enact as a law that is restrict any of this right, it will be declared invalid by the court. That is important, and such a right are there provided in a part 3rd of the Indian Constitution. There is a 3rd of the Indian Constitution here. The Constitution guarantees a 6 fundamental right to Indian citizens as a follow. There is a 6 fundamental right the granted by the Constitution: right to equality, right to freedom, right against exploitations, right to freedom of religions and culture and education right, and right to constitutional remedies. And well, this is a fundamental right, is universal, and the Constitution provides for some expectations and restriction here. This is important. Let's see first right to equality. The one important things here, originally there is a 7 fundamental right. There is a 6 here, but originally is a 7 fundamental right in the Constitution. 7 fundamental rights in the Constitution. There is 6 is already has a discussion here, but 7th is important. Besides, there is a above mentioned 6 right, and there was a right to poverty also. The right to properties is also is a 7th. There is a fundamental right here. As in the right is a create a lot of problem in the way of attaining to the goal of socialism and the equitable distribution of the wealth. It was removed from the list of fundamental rights in 1978 by the 44th Constitutional Amendment. And however, it is a deletes does not mean that do not have a right to the acquire, hold and dispose of properties. Citizens are still free to enjoy this right. But now it's just a legal right and not a fundamental right here. There are seven rights is here. A right to property. There are seven. But today I will discuss here six rights of fundamental here. The right to equality is the first. The next year, right to equality. Right to equality is very important to the society like our. The purpose of the right to be established the right of law, whereas all the citizens should be treated equal before the law, and it's a five provisions. Article 14 to 18 to be provide for a equality before a law are for the protection of law to all the person in India, and also be a prohibit discrimination on the ground of religions and race, caste, sex, and place of birth. There is the most important here. The provision here or a discrimination on there is the prohibit their religions, race, caste, sex, and place of birth. The first point here is important. Equality before a law. The Constitution granted that all citizens will be equal before a law. It means that everyone will be equal, protected by the law of the country. No person is above law. It means that if two persons commit to the same crime, and both them will be get the same punishment without any discrimination. The equality before a law. There is no person is above law. There is a mean to be two person commit the same crime, but there will be get a same punishment without any discrimination. And the next year, no discrimination on the basis of religious, race, caste, sex, and place of birth. That is important. The state cannot be discriminate against the citizen on the basis of religions, race, caste, sex, and place of birth. This is a necessity to the bearing about the social equality. Every citizen of India has equal access to the shops, restaurant, place of public entertainment in the use of well and thanks are road without any discriminations. However, the state can make a special provision of concessions for a women and children. This is important. There is no discrimination on the basis of religious, race, caste, sex, and the place of birth. And the next year, equality of opportunity to all citizens in a matter of public employment. This is important here. Equality of opportunity to all citizens in the matter of public employment. The state cannot discriminate against anyone in the matter of public employment. All citizens can apply and become employees of the state. The merit and qualification will be the basis of the employment. However, there are some expectation to this right. There is a special provision of the reservation of the post of citizens belong to the scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, and other backward classes OBC. There is important here. On your screen, there is a most important picture here. There is a without discrimination of male and female, the sex here. That's important here. No here discrimination on this picture. The next year, ambulations of untouchability. Ambulations of untouchability here. Practicing untouchability in any form has been made a punishable offense under the law. And this provision is on effort to be uplift the social status of millions of Indians who had been to look it down upon and kept at their distance because either there is a caste or nature of their profession. But it is really is a very unfortunate that is opposed to the constitutional provision. This social evil continues even today. Can you find any difference when you see a nurse cleaning a patient, a mother cleaning her child, and the lady cleaning a toilet in their illustrations? Why do we people consider cleaning of the toilet in the derogator's manner. That's important here. The next point here, evaluations of titles. That's important. A lesson of the titles here, all the British title like a Sir, King's Hood, or Rai Bahadur, which were given to the British loyalty during to the British rule, has been abolished because they create destruction of artificial nature. However, the President of India can confer a civil and military award to those who have rendered to the meritorious service to be a nation in different fields. The civil award, such as a Bharat Ratna, Padma Bhushan, and Padma Shri, and the military award like the Veer Chakra, Paramveer Chakra, Ashok Chakra, and conferred. Do you know that this award are not titles? This award do not, there is award to be not with titles. Educational and military award can be for a fixed with one as a name. There is the most important here. On your screen, there is a medal showing the civil and military award. The first of all here, Bharat Ratna. Second is a Padma Bhushan. Third is a Padmavir Chakra. The next is Veer Chakra and the Ashok Chakra on your screen. There is the most important award giving to the medals showing the civil and military award here. The next year, right to freedom. There is an important point in the next year, right to freedom here. You will agree that the freedom is the most cherished, is a desire of every living being. Human beings are defined want and need freedom. Human beings define want and need of freedom. You also want to have a freedom. The Constitution of India is provide right to freedom to all its citizens. The Constitution of India is provide right to freedom to all its citizens, and this right is stipulated under Article 19 and 22. The following are the four categories of right to freedom here. Let's see four categories here. The first of all here, six freedom. The Article 90 of Constitution provide for the following six freedom. The first of all here, freedom to speech and expressions, freedom to the assemble peaceful and without arms, and the next year freedom to form associations and union, freedom to move freely without the territory of India, freedom to the arise and settle in any part of India, freedom to the practice any professions or to be carry and any occupation, trade or business. This is important. And the purpose of providing this freedom is not to be built and maintenance on environment to proper functioning of democracy. However, the Constitution has authorized the state to impose contains symbols or restriction on each of them. Restriction may be put on the right to freedom of speech and expressions in the interest of the sovereignty and integrity and security of India. Friendly relation with the foreign state, public order, dances and the normality are in the relation to contempt of court, deformations and incitement to an offense. The right to assemble peacefully and without arms may be restricted in the interest of the sovereignty and the greater India of public order. And right to form association or union may be a restriction in the interest of the sovereignty and integrity of Indian public order military. This is important. And right to move freely throughout the territory of India and to be reside and settle in any part of India may also be restricted in the interest of the general public or for the protection of this interest of any scheduled tribe. And the next year, right to the practice any professions to be carried on, occupation, trade, business may be have restrictions in the interest of general public. The state is also promoted to lay down to the professional and technical qualification necessary for the practicing any profession and carrying on any occupation, trade or business. This is important. And the next year, protection in the respect of convictions for an offense. Article 20 of the Constitution provides for the protection in the respect of convictions for offense. No one can be convicted for an act that was not on offense at the time of its commission, and no one can be given punishment greater than that was provided in the law prevalent at the time of the commission. Also, no one can be prosecuted and the punished for their same offense more than once and can be forced to be give witness against this or here or when itself. And the next year, protection of life and personal liberties. This is important. As provided in Article 21, no one can be deprived of this or here life or personal liberty except according to the procedure established by law. And the next year, protection against arrest and detention contain the case. It is provided in the Article 22 that whenever is a person is arrested, he or she should be informed as soon as it is possible of the grounds for arrest and should be allowed to be counsels and to be defined by the legal practitioner of his or her choose. Moreover, the arrested a person must be produced before their arrest is a magistrate within the 24 hours. Such as arrest concept a person who has been arrested under preventive detention law. This is the most important here. The arrested person must be produced before the arrest magistrate within the 24 hours. There is the most important law here. And this case of a person arrested under preventive detention law has also been referred on the advisory is a board within a period of 3 months his or her arrested. This is an important point here. On your screen, there is a most important difference here. Freedoms and reasonable restriction. That's important. Freedom of speech and expression. But restriction here on the moment of the person group to prevent spread of the violence. And the freedom to be association and union. But the restriction is not allowed to be done trade like gambling, prostitution and selling of the narcotic drugs. This is important. And the freedom to the assemble peacefully and without arm. But restriction here not allowed to the decide to be close to be aerodromes. This is important here. The next year, freedom to move freely and throughout the territory of India. But restriction here, restriction on there is the use of language and that may be instigate people for a communal violence. And the next year, free to the reside and settle in any part of India. But restriction is here not allowed to be formed and the association to help a terrorist and activities. Terrorist activities are not to be restricted here is allowed. And the next year, freedom to the practice any profession to be carry on any occupation, trade or business. But here restriction here should be a peacefully and participant should not be carry any weapon. There is a most important restriction here. The next year, third, right against to the exploitation. This is important here. Right against exploitations. Have you ever thought how many ways exploitation take place in our society? You might have seen a small child working in a tea shop or poor and the trade of person began a force to be work in the household of a rich person. Traditionally, the India society has been a hierarchicals that has encouraged exploitation in many forms. This is why the Constitution make a provision against exploitations. The citizens has been granted the right against the exploitation through the Article 23 and 24 of the Constitution. And these two provisions are here. The first of all here, the provisions of the traffic in human beings and forced labor. The traffic in human beings and beggars and other similar form of the forced labor are prohibited, and any breach of his provision shall be an offence punishable in accordance with the law. The next important in this box mean of traffic. What do you mean by traffic here? Traffics in the human beings mean selling and buy of human beings as a material goods. Trafficking, especially of the young women, girls, even boy, is a continually as in a legal trade. This is important. Traffics here meaning of selling and buy of human beings as a materials goods. There is especially trafficking here young women, girls, and even boy. The area, especially in the Federal India society, people belonging to the poor and downtrodden section and were made to be do work free or charge for the landlord and other powerful people. And this practice was a bigger or forced labor. The next year, provision of the employment of children in a factory, etc. That is important, as the Constitution provides no child below the age of 14 years shall be employed to be work in any factory or mine and engaged in any other hazardous employment. And this lies aim to be eliminating one of the most serious problem. Child labor that is India has been to facing since ages. Children are assessed of the society. There is a basic right to enjoy a happy childhood and get education. But a show in the literations and as you also maybe have absorbed in the spirit of this constitutional provision. The problem of child labor is still continuing at the many places, and this is a mechanism can be eliminated by the creating a public opinion against it. On your screen, there is a children of working over the houses condition. There is the most important pictures on your screen. The next here, right to freedom of religions. That's an important point here, right to freedom of religion. As you know, one of the objectives declared in the preambles is to be ensured to all its citizens liberty of belief, faith, and worship. Since India is a multi-religious country, India is a multi-religious country where a Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, Christian, and many other communities live together. This is most important. The India is a freedom of religions. There is a multi-religious countries here. Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, Christians, and many other communities live together. But today, many political parties are convert to the one religious. There's a not a fair here. The Constitution declared India as a secular state. The India is here a secular state. It means that India state has a no religious of its own, but is allow fully freedom to all the citizens to have faith in any religious and to worship. They were there like a, but this should be not be interfere with the religious belief and way of the worship of other fellow beings. And this freedom is available to be a foreigner as well. In respect of the right to be freedom and Constitution makes flowing four provision under Article 25 and 28 here. First here, freedom of conscience and freedom profession, practice and propagations of religions. All persons are equal, entitled to be a freedom of conscience and the right to profess and practice and propagate religions of freely. However, it does not mean that one can be forced another person to convert his religious by force or agreement. Also contained in humans, legal and superstitions practice has been to be banned. Religious practice like us sacrificing animals and human beings for their offering to gods and goddess, or to be some supernatural force are not permissible. And similarly, the law does not be permit to the widow to get a cremated lives with her dead husband voluntarily forcibly in the name of Sati Pratha. Forcing the widow is a woman not to be married to be a second time, to shave her head or to be make her wear is white clothes or some other social evil. Began the practice in the name of religions. Besides the above state restriction, the state also has a power to regulate any economics, financial, political or other scholar activities related to the religions. The states can also impose restriction on this right on the grounds of public order, is moralities and healthy. The next year, freedom to the manage religious affair. There is a freedom to the manage religious affair. Subject to the public order, morality and the healthy, every religious group or any section thereof to the shall have to right to be established and maintenance institution for the religious and charitable purpose. To be managed its own affair in the matter of religions. To own is acquire movables and immovables properties, and the administration such as a property is accordance with the law. This is important. And third here, freedom as to be a payment of taxes for promotions of any particular religions. No person shall be compelled to be pay any tax. The proceed for area which is a specificals used to the payment of expension there are incurred on their promotion or the maintenance of any particular religions or religious sect. The next year, freedom as the attendance at religious instruction or religious worship in the content educational institution. Now religious instruction shall be provided in any educational institution, however the maintenance out of the state funds. However, it is a will not apply to any educational institution which is administered by the state but has been established under any trust which require that a religious instruction shall be imparted in such an institution. But no person attending such an institution shall be compelled to be take part in a religious institution that may be imparted here or attend any religious worship that may be conducted there. In case of minor and consent of his heir, guardians and still they are attending such as activities. The next year, culture and educational right. Culture and educational right is the most important. India is the largest democracy in the world, having diversity and culture, scripts, language and religions. As we know, the democracy as a rule of the majority, but the minorities are also equal important for it is a successfully working. Therefore, protection of language, culture and religions of minorities because extremely so that is a minorities may not be feel neglected or undermined under the impact of the majority rule. Since the people take a pride, there is open culture and the language a special right known as the culture and educational right has been included in their chapter on fundamental right. In Article 29 and 32 major provision has been to the made. The first of a protection of interest of minorities. This is important. Protection of interest of minorities. Any minorities groups having a distinct language, script or culture of its own shall has the right to be conserved their same. No citizen shall be denied admission into any educational institute maintained by the state and receive aid out of state fund and ground only of religion, race, caste, language or any of them. And second right of minority to establish and administrator educational institution. All minorities, whether it's based on the religious or the language, has the right to be established and administered educational institution of their choice. In making any law providings for the compulsory acquisitions of any property of educational institution, establish any administered by the minority, the state shall be ensured that the amount fixed by or determined under such a law for the acquisitions of such a property would not be restrict or the abrogate the right of granted under that clauses. The state shall be not be granting at educational institution and discriminate against many educational institutions on the ground that is under the management of a minority, whether they are based on religious or language. You know that that's the most important point here. Minority does not be mean a minority at the national level. Minority does not be mean to minority at the national level. There can be a minorities at the state level also. For example, the Sikh are minority community in their Punjab, but they are minorities community in a Delhi, Rajasthan, Haryana, and any other state. Similarly, Telugu is Kannada and the Bangla is speaking people are in a minorities in most of the state in India except their own. Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, and West Bengal. This is an important point here. The next year, right to constitutional remedies. This is important. So, and the fundamental rights are justable and they are just like a guarantees. And they are the enforceable as a very individual as the right to be seek the help for the courts. If they are violated, but is related, it is not so. Encroachment or violations of fundamental rights in our day-to-day life is a matter of great concern here, which is why our constitution does not be permit the legislatures and the executive to be curbs this right. It's a provide a legal remedies for the protection of our fundamental rights. And this is called the right to be a constitutional remedies stipulated in Article 32. When any of our right are violated, we can seek justice through the courts. We can directly approach the Supreme Court that can be issued directions, order or brought for the enforcement of fundamental rights. The next important here, right to education means RTE. There is the right to education here. The right to education is added by the introducing a new article 21A in the chapter of fundamental right in 2002 by that 6th constitutional amended here. The right to education aid here, it was a long standing demand to that all the children in the age group of 6 to 14 year and there is a parents can claim a compulsory and free education as the fundamental right. It is a major step forward in the making the country free of literacy. But the additions reminded is the meaningless as it could be not be enforced until 2009 when the parliament passed the Right to Education Act 2009 and it is this act which aim at the ensure that every child who is between 6 to 14 years of age and it is out of school in India goes to school and receive the quality education that is here right. This is the most important here, right to education. There are 7 articles on aid of 2002 the 86 constitution amended here and here on 2009 passed the parliament passed a right to education act 2009. This is the most important right to education here.